Every wildlife photographer, when they go out photographing, needs to put their gear in something. And for the most part, it's a camera backpack or a camera bag. So today, I'm going to talk about what I use when I go out into the field. I've been photographing for 22 years, mostly in Africa, but also the polar regions of the Arctic and Antarctica. And in that time, I've realized it's not just cameras that go into the camera bag. There's a lot of small tips that go in that really makes your experience in the field so much better. So today I'm going to be talking about what a wildlife photographer puts in his camera bag or her camera bag. My name is Shem Compion. I'm a wildlife photographer from Africa. I've traveled globally in the pursuit of capturing great images, but Africa remains my muse. I'm the managing director of C4 Photo Safaris. I lead safaris across Africa, and I love nothing more than sharing my passion and experience of Africa with others. So join me on this video as we share what makes a great wildlife photography camera bag. The first thing about a camera bag is, of course, it needs to be stable and comfortable. I use this brand. It is the most comfortable one. I remember 2011 walking through Haneda Airport in Tokyo. The camera bag was so uncomfortable, I vowed I would find a decent camera bag. Importantly, you want to be walking around very comfortably. So a camera bag that can clip and come off quite easily is just so much better for you when it comes to comfort. Secondly, the outer shell of a camera bag needs to be rain resistant, because when you're walking out there, you never know when a rainstorm is happening. Okay. Of course, the most important part of having a water resistant camera bag is that it keeps everything on the inside dry. So that's the most important part. But in Africa, we also have a lot of dust. So there again, you need to make sure that you get a camera bag that keeps the dust out. And one very important tip that I've found, dust invariably gets in because you're opening and closing your bag whilst out on safari. So every now and then, use a hoover, a vacuum cleaner, to, when your gear is all out, hoover the inside of your bag out, that compartment part out, and you'll be surprised at how much dust is in there already. So as you can see, this camera's had a bit of wear on it. This is actually some mold from when it got wet in South Sudan and lay against the ground for a couple of days. But the point is it keeps the wetness and the dust out. This bag, when you open it up, it's got all your gear inside. But you know, airline restrictions these days are pretty severe. And so what I like about these camera bags is that it's got an internal unit that you can slide out, close up and zip closed. Yeah, you can slide up, zip closed, and this then is a separator to your bag in the sense of you can fit in an overhead locker. I've never had to put this bag in the check-in ever, so it works really well in that regard. Now you'll notice a few things in this camera bag. Of course, there's lenses, but there's also other items that I find pretty important to have whilst on safari, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now. Now that we've covered the camera bag itself and what it does, let's get to the gear, because every wildlife photographer, of course, needs their own gear. And that's very dependent on what you are going to go photograph. If you're photographing landscapes, very different to when you're photographing wildlife. Of course, your lens choices are different and so on. However, I have a pretty standard setup that I use. And that is, firstly, I always take, on any trip I go with, my binoculars. Imperative that a wildlife photographer is always traveling with binoculars. You know, my saying is that if you're going to be photographing wildlife, you should become a zoologist. If you want to become a bird photographer, become an ornithologist. Landscape photography, become a climatologist. Those background researchers give you so much insight into improving your images because you can plan ahead. So with these, I get to see so much more into the bush, into the forest. I can observe from a distance. I can forecast where I want to be. And many people forget, they don't even cross their mind. Very important. 2 camera bodies. I've got this small camera body over here. It's a nice old one. I think this is the Z6 1. Z6 III has just come out. and I'll probably be upgrading to that one. But this is small, light camera body. It's my backup camera body. My main one is the Z8 that's filming right now. Then my setup currently is only 3 lenses, and the world has changed so much. High ISO performance has improved dramatically. That means that we can now photograph in low light conditions without necessarily having to use a prime lens. And so I've gone to only zoom lenses in my bag. So the one lens is the 24-120 f4 that's being filmed on right now. Light, versatile, very nice lens for photographing wildlife with. And importantly, that lens is not too wide. Anything wider than 24mm, you start getting distortion, and with wildlife photography, your giraffe's neck start bending off to the sides. So going wider than 24, you get that distortion. Second lens, this is a 70-180 f2.8, extremely light. And I know a number of brands are making these light, medium range zoom lenses, incredibly versatile because it's so light. I think it weighs around about 1 kilogram or less. And so as a traveling wildlife photographer, I want to be traveling as light as possible. And then lastly, this is the 180-600, currently my workhorse. And you heard me talk about the fact that a prime lens has become redundant due to the high performance of ISOs in the last few years. I've had a 200-400 for the last 22 years. Can you believe it? One lens for 22 years as my major wildlife lens. Once I picked this up, my 200-400 was immediately redundant. The high ISO performance of the Z8 coupled with this is the workhorse that I've got with right now. And it is so light, I don't know what its weight is, but it has changed my life as a wildlife photographer because I can walk around with it very easily. I can use it very low on the ground, especially with the new mirrorless cameras that the LCD flips up with. So this has really become an incredible piece of kit. So I use only those 3 lenses, 2 camera bodies, very important. I want to show you how I sort my batteries out. I travel with about 6 batteries, that the same batteries for both cameras, really handy. And if you look here, this camera bag, I use an in and out system. Zip over here, my batteries are charged on this side. When I'm finished with my batteries, they go into this side over here. So it's in, they come out of here and go into here, full, empty. It's a straightforward, simple system where I know how many batteries I've used, which ones are charged, which ones are empty. And I just charge the new ones as I get back to where I'm staying. Another vital aspect as a wildlife photographer is you need batteries, which we've spoken about, but also memory cards. I keep my memory cards up here. I don't have too many extra memory cards. My methodology is that with memory cards, I download pretty much every single day. And that means I keep the cards in the camera empty and ready to go for the next day's action. The nice to haves, and these are really from the experience I've gained in the last 22 years of photographing. Firstly, a blower, camera blower, indispensable. Cleaning the outside of your gear, but also for emergency cleans of dust on your sensor. So that's a must have, lives in the bag right there. Then gear that never leaves my camera bag. Lightweight, windproof gloves. These things have saved me so many times. 3 days ago, we were flying out of Gorongosa, doors off, freezing cold in the early morning, lifesavers. And so I keep these in my bag every single trip that I go on. They never leave. This thing is a buff, I think they call it a buff, neck warmer. Very, very handy to have. A good scarf. You never know when you're on safari and Africa can get really cold. The open plains of the Serengeti, the Masai Mara early morning are cold. So a good scarf and a beanie. Pick this up in Svalbard, it never leaves my camera bag because once again, Africa gets cold. And of course, a good old hat. I like these hats because they compact nice and flat. Pop it on the top of your camera bag and off you go. So hat, scarf, gloves and a beanie are indispensable. One other thing that I also always have in my camera bag is paracetamol. You never know when you're going to have blinding headache, you're not feeling great, and having paracetamol just as a nice backup for those days when you're stuck out in the field, you might be a bit dehydrated, it's a bit of a lifesaver, and it saved me a number of times on safari. One last tip: floss and a needle. This comes from my surfing days. With floss, you can pretty much sew up anything. It's almost indestructible to break a piece of normal dental floss. So I keep a needle and I keep dental floss in my bag because things tear, people's clothing gets torn, and having that to just sew up and repair with is indispensable, plus of course the dental concerns. That pretty much covers my camera bag. The essentials, the things I've gained and learned from over the last 22 years of photographing. But I've got one last tip, and that is, if you're photographing wildlife, take it seriously in the preparation of what you take out into the field. And the way I do that is I prepare everything the night before. So the day before I go out on safari, I lay everything out on a table. I charge all my batteries up. I make sure I've got a nice system of making sure every battery is charged. I lay all my gear out and I repack it into my camera bag. And it becomes a very nice ritual to go through, and that you know every time that your gear is 100% prepared for the action the next day. You don't have to arrive at a location and think, maybe I should quickly charge a battery, or I should format a memory card. Do everything the day before you go, and when you arrive on safari, you've got a very clear mindset and you can go focus on what you want to do, which is making magic out in the field. I'm Shem Compion. Thank you for viewing this video. Subscribe, press the bell, because I know there's going to be a lot more new content coming out. Thank you for viewing. Goodbye.